Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're pulling back the curtain a bit on the Lazarus Group.
Ah, yes, the cybercrime network.
Yeah.
Widely linked to North Korea, the DPRK.
Exactly. And we're digging into this really fascinating analysis from the security researchers over at BitMEX. They ran a counter-operations probe.
Right. Their goal was basically to, get inside the operational security, the OPSEC of this group, see what they could find, maybe expose some vulnerability.
And what they found is, well, it's pretty surprising, actually.
Definitely.
The core finding right off the bat was evidence of what BitMEX called amateur-level operational security lapses.
Amateur level. Yeah, when you hear that about Lazarus Group, it kind of makes you stop and think, doesn't it? Given their reputation.
It really does. So when the BitMEX team looked closer, they found some specific things.
Several types of lapses. Things like exposed IP addresses. They actually got access into a database instance the group was using.
A database, okay.
Yeah, and even figured out some of their methods, like tracking algorithms they seem to be using.
Okay, let's pause on the IP address part, because that gets really interesting.
It does.
BitMEX researchers said there's a strong likelihood, their words, that at least one hacker involved accidentally revealed their real IP address.
Not masked, their actual one.
Their actual one, exposed.
Which is, that's OPSEC 101 failure, right?
Yeah.
For any hacker, let alone a group supposedly backed by a state.
So how did that happen, according to BitMEX?
Well, their analysis points to the hacker, likely just failing to consistently use the VPN, the tool meant to mask their location.
Just forgot. Or didn't bother sometimes.
Yeah, implies maybe carelessness or complacency, just not sticking to the protocol, basically.
And the specific detail, the really startling one, is where that IP address led back to.
Get this. Jiaxing, China.
China, not North Korea.
No, Jiaxing, China, a specific city. That's a concrete geographical point they pulled from this mistake.
Wow, okay. And you mentioned database access, too.
Right, yeah. Beyond the IPs, they managed to get into a database the group was using.
And the report mentioned what kind?
It did. Specifically, an instance of the Supabase Database platform.
Supabase. Okay, I know that one. It's a pretty common cloud backend service, right? Developers use it a lot.
Exactly. Provides database functions, other backend stuff. So getting access there, even if it's a standard platform, well, it suggests a weak point, in how they were managing their data or infrastructure.
Could be a goldmine for intelligence if someone dug deeper.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
And alongside these specific slip-ups, BitMEX highlighted something else they called asymmetry.
Asymmetry. What do they mean by that?
They saw this big contrast. On one hand, you have what look like lower skill social engineering teams.
The ones doing the phishing scams, trying to trick people.
Probably, yeah. Funneling victims. But then on the other hand, you see these highly sophisticated code exploits, really advanced stuff.
Developed by different people within the group, presumably?
That's the implication, yeah. High-tech hackers somewhere else in the structure. And this contrast, this asymmetry, BitMEX suggests, well, it could mean the main DPRK-linked organization isn't just one solid block.
Ah, so maybe it's sort of splintered.
Splintered, or maybe organized into separate subgroups with really different skill levels, different capabilities, but still working together somehow towards the same goals.
So you could have these elite coders working alongside people making really basic VPN mistakes.
It seems that way based on this analysis. It's a strange mix.
And this BitMEX report, it doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? We've been seeing a lot lately attributed to Lazarus.
Oh, absolutely. High-profile hacks, loads of social engineering scams, infiltrating crypto companies, tech firms. It's been busy.
And governments are noticing, clearly.
Definitely. Law enforcement, government agencies worldwide, they're increasingly investigating, putting out warnings about the common tactics.
You've probably seen some yourself, like the FBI warning back in September 2024.
About the social engineering.
Yeah.
Phishing. Fake job offers, specifically targeting crypto users.
Right. And then that was echoed again, wasn't it, in January 2025?
Yeah, a joint warning. Japan, the U.S., South Korea, they basically called the group's activity a threat to the whole financial system. Pretty strong language.
It's even potentially hitting agendas at the highest levels. There was that Bloomberg report.
Right, suggesting world leaders might actually discuss the Lazarus threat at the next G7 summit to coordinate, figure out how to handle it.
So it's fascinating how these technical findings from BitMEX, these internal weaknesses, the asymmetry.
Yeah, they seem to kind of mesh with the external view the types of lower skill scams the governments are warning everyone about.
Okay, so let's just recap this deep dive quickly. BitMEX probe found these surprising, almost basic OPSEC flaws in the Lazarus Group.
Yeah, like the accidental IP leak tracing to China, getting into that database instance.
And it suggests this picture of a potentially splintered group. Different teams, very different skill levels, maybe even some making fundamental errors.
Right. And these technical insights, they sort of add context to all the warnings we're seeing from governments about the phishing, the fake jobs, the tangible threats hitting the financial system.
So the big picture takeaway here seems to be this stark contrast. You've got the reputation for sophisticated state-sponsored hacking butting up against evidence of basic security mistakes in these seemingly lower-skill scam operations.
It definitely challenges that image of Lazarus as this, untouchable, uniformly super-skilled cyber force.
It certainly does. Makes him seem a bit more human, in a way. Fallible.
Which leads to a pretty interesting question for you, listening to this. If these sophisticated state-linked groups are actually making these kinds of basic mistakes and maybe have this internal asymmetry, what does that really tell us?
Yeah, what does it mean for defending against them? Does it actually make tracking them or countering them easier? Or maybe, in some ways, even harder because they're less predictable? Something to think about.